Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Feel free to subscribe if you're interested in any of those things right there. And if not, I will see you later. And returning subscribers, hello. And then new people, I'm sorry. So let's just start off there. My friends, hi guys. And then new people who are not my friends yet and possibly could be friends. My bad. I'm sorry. Here. Oopsie daisies. There you go. You can take that with you. Put it in your pocket. It's dangerous out there alone. Put that in your pocket. Don't show everybody, okay? Someone might steal it. How are you guys doing? I got this. Wait, no, don't go anywhere. I got this. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you reading? I want to know! As always, open the pit in the comment section and feel free to just tell me what the fuck you're doing. You know, how is your October going? How are you doing? Are you doing well? Are you feeling good? You're feeling bad? What's happening? What is it? What's going on? Are you alright? You need to talk? The Lord did give me these elephant ears for a reason, so. Anyways, so I need to fix my face because I made a curbside, so I need to go pick up the curbside eventually, essentially around a couple hours from now, but who knows? Who knows? What is a couple hours? What is time? Who fucking knows? I don't know. In the mornings, I'm extremely serious because I just wake up, I haven't had coffee, blah, blah, blah. There's so many things. And it's funny, sometimes my thoughts will wake me up. I'll wake up having a conversation in my head, and I'm just like, shut up! No, I'm kidding. I need to be nice to myself, but sometimes I do. I'm like, can you shut up? Bitch, I'm trying to sleep. And my brain's just like, isn't it so peculiar how blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, shut up! 4 hours of sleep is not good enough, honey. We can't go to sleep at 5 a.m. and then wake up at 9. You can't do that anymore. You have to stay asleep at least until 11. Come on now. Just kidding. It doesn't matter. It is what it is, and that is it. So, anyways, I have to, yeah, what is time? I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know what time is. Do you know what time is? I doubt it. I know what a heartbeat is, and apparently everybody has a specific ticker underneath their ribcage. So who knows what time is, or if it is or isn't, and it's none of my business. Anyways, I need to fix my face. This store just called me and told me that the curbside I put in 5 minutes ago is ready now, even though I paid $4 for it to be ready at 8. What time is it now? 1 second. So according to my spooky dookie Halloween watch of doom, it is 6:30. I paid $4 for it to be ready at 8:30. I have been scammed. Lesson acquired. Like a video game. Lesson learned. I've put stuff on my lips, and so now I have finger stains from my lip stuff. So anyways, golly, how funny. Lesson learned, you fool. Golly. Whatever, I'm not gonna get mad at that. I'm not gonna get mad at it. We're not gonna get mad at it. It's fine. I paid extra money for no reason. What is life? Whatever. So I guess now I need to hurry up. That's so funny. I was sitting here talking shit about time. I was like, what is time? Time is this? How long is that? It was supposed to be 2 hours from now, and then it was literally 5 minutes after I put in the order. They were like, bitch, come pick it up and give me the money. And I'm like, okay. Just kidding. Oh, my bad. Like, I start apologizing. Dude, okay, so the reason why I am doing a curbside, let me just get into that. Well, you know, whatever. I'm in a certain mood. I like I said before, I don't know if I said this before. Maybe I did, whatever. I'm more excited in the evenings. I have, many things have happened throughout the day, and so I've reacted in many different ways, and there's a different little chemical mixture within my body. Later in the evening, I'm more amped up. I'm excited because nightfall's coming, the cooler air is returning, and I feel like I'm not going to melt or die within the sun's rays, and it feels good. It feels good to go outside at night underneath the, you know, the canvas of stars and feel just all of the the settling of everything, of everyone, the animals, the birds, everything, and just the things in the night, like, you know, the creatures of the night, what beautiful music they make. It's true. It is beautiful. I love watching the bats come in from the sunset. They live at somebody else's house. Last year they lived at my house, and we had to wait until winter for them to leave. So we had bats living in our attic. So it was kind of funny because I love bats. I have little figurines of onyx crystal bats all over my house. Bats are very, very important to me. When I was younger, my mom used to take me to Austin. Like, there's a certain bridge everybody goes to, and you watch them fly out. That was so important as a child for me to do, to go watch the bats fly out of the caves and the fucking the bridges and whatnot. Anyways, and bats have a very specific smell. The scent of bats is very specific. Guano is a very specific smell. And I don't know, as a kid I would always watch these like nature documentaries on animals because I love animals. But within certain caves, the bats, they are on the walls, and the caves are so filled with such a strong putrid amount of guano and urine and things that decompose, that if bats fall off into their own excrement, they could die because of the things that live and crawl and eat on the cave floors. And so it's excrement, it's, you know, poop and pee and all these other things, but it's also this primordial fucking mix that is really important for gardening. People will go into hazmat suits and go gather the guano out of caves and then mix it into soil and sell it for gardening because it's very good. It's very good. That primal material, the primal black dark material from within the caves and caverns that bats live in is delicious for the earth and the things you try to grow. And I always find it so interesting and curious that, like, yeah, there's bats that'll fall off the walls and die in their own, let's be honest about the experience. So these bats, I'm sorry, oh well, I guess I'm talking about bats now. Bats will fall off the cave walls, you know, they're clinging on and they're living and having babies and nurturing their things and in unison and singing, you know, in the darkness, and then they fly out and they do their thing. But every once in a while, they cannot just fly from the ground. Bats cannot fly from the ground. They have to, if they fall very far down, they have to climb up a wall and then glide and then go. They cannot just start from the ground up. At least the bats here in Texas, they have to have an ascension when they fall from very high up, when they plummet to the ground, to that primal prima materia, the shit, piss, urine, excrement in the deep dark caves that has crawlers in it, little types of bugs that are carnivorous and eat the primal material that comes out of these these mammals, you know. It is not only used to grow food and grow it very well, and most delicious divine products come from bat shit, essentially. Bats to me are so fucking holy. They are bats and foxes. To me, those are my two, like, bats, foxes, coyotes, anything that the trickster kind of embodies. But bats, holy fuck, I love bats so much. I love watching them dance in the air and eating mosquitoes, and we have tons of mosquitoes here, so of course we have tons of bats. And when I was a baby, we lived in San Antonio, you know, near the caverns. They have caves in the hill country that they come out of in swarms at night, and they fill the sky and dance and eat the bugs and everything, and it's a beautiful cycle. The bat's life cycle is amazing. But how interesting it is that if they fall from such a high, from the top of the cave, from the very top, they must ascend before they can glide and go again. They have to literally use their tiny little sweet claws and claw their way up the cave walls and then fly, then take flight. They just can't go off the fucking ground. They have to ascend. The ascension essentially is first horizontal and then vertical. You know, the road to El Dorado. People who know will know. Then he's like, oh well, we need a boat to go back to Xibalba, to the realm of the gods or whatever, because ascension is going to be at first horizontal and then vertical. So yes, so the descent into the darkness, the primal material that is excrement, that is all of the raw, like you digest and let go, the release, the descent into the release causes death for bats. Within certain caves, certain types of bats, depends on what creatures are creeping and crawling in the guano. Basically, it is things that break down matter. Okay, so the bugs, insects, they could get infected really quick. They get bit by something, they get infected, they could die very quickly. It's the things that creep and crawl on the bottom of the cave floors where the bats live and do their thing, you know, reproduce, sleep, find shelter, hang out and talk, and you know, their safe place is also such a beautiful heaven for the things that these bats provide life to, the things that break down matter on planet Earth, right? And then turn it into a compost that is then used for the earth to make fantastic foods for you and me to eat. Now let's say it's making like very good crops. It's fantastic for crops. It's a whole beautiful cycle. And I'm really, really obsessed with both gardening and also understanding the way permaculture, I believe it's called permaculture, it's everything kind of goes into cycles with itself. The earth, you know, it's just Western societies kind of fucked everything up with the industrialization and the Industrial Revolution and everything like that. We have kind of fallen away from being actual animals and mammals, a part of a cycle, and now we're kind of in this destructive cycle, which can be like defined via the, you know, Hopi myth of the, you know, the gourd full of ash or whatnot in some places, whatever. But yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Anyway, so I find it to be fascinating and beautiful. Bats, caves. And then it was, oh, well, bitch, you look like this. No shit, Sherlock. No, it's not that. It started a long time ago. It started before this. It started from within. It started in the deep caves of myself. Growing up in San Antonio, living in Austin, watching them, witnessing them through observation. There's something that happens that when you observe something, when you look at something and you learn its cycles and patterns, it shifts something within you. Now you have a connection. So anyways, now you're going into your own little shamanic journey because you're observing this creature. And so you understand its life cycles. How do they reproduce? Where does it start? Where does their cycle start? Where does a bat's life cycle start? You know what I mean? And every bat's different, but I like observing the ones here in Texas, the little brown ones, the ones that could have rabies. They could be an extremely dangerous thing. And they're all around, all over the place. They're in my house, okay? They're in my house, they're in your house, they're everywhere, but they really are, they're everywhere. And they're beneficial for South Texas life. Bats are important for, us in South Texas. They are natural pest control. They help with the mosquitoes that are rampant here in the swamps. And they're just so beautiful watching them dive. When I used to live in San Antonio, unfortunately, some of them would drink like pool water. So we would be out in the pool at nighttime around, I'm always outside around twilight and dusk. But anyways, we'd be outside at dusk and the bats would dive into the pool with us and drink the water. And it was kind of scary. It is frightening to have an animal that is wild and perhaps dangerous. Maybe it had rabies, maybe not, I don't know. We were swimming and playing around and they would dive into the pool with us at the apartment pool. And so you got to think what chlorine's doing to these poor animals, you know. But I mean, this wasn't like it was my fault. I shouldn't feel so much guilt and shame over it, but at the point I did, I was like, I don't feel okay with them doing this. But what I mean, I don't speak back. I just can't be like to them and be like, do not drink this water, it will kill you, baby. But sometimes bats would drown in the pool, and you know, was it safe for us to swim in a pool where bats were drinking? No. Did we do it? Yeah, but then we stopped. We did stop. I'm not like some crazy bitch. Anyways. So then we stopped. We stopped swimming in the pool with the bats because they had taken over the pool basically. They were diving into it at that point and drinking water. They were so thirsty, these bats. I don't know why. There must have been a drought that year or something to where they became so desperate they drank chlorinated water. But also, sometimes the pool wasn't kept in the best way. And so we were swimming in like nasty water. But when you're an apartment person, when you live in an apartment and you're poor or whatever, like we were extraordinarily poor and we just wanted to have fun, you would swim in the apartment pool with other people, your friends, your family, and, you know, submit to the bats trying to drink the chlorine water. But bats are so amazing to me, and every time I find one, I'm like, hey, you know, I always go, I have gloves I keep with me because if I find roadkill on the side of the road, sometimes, depending on what it is, legally, I will pick up certain things and legally I'll pick up certain things and take it home, you know, put peroxide, gather the bones and whatnot from the things, and then make art out of the bones, or make jewelry and different art pieces around the house out of, like, you know, roadkill, whatnot, stuff like that. It's just something I do personally, whatever. But so I do keep some kind of hardcore gloves in my trunk, and I usually keep like a couple trash bags and some gloves in my trunk in case I see an interesting thing on the side of the road and I want to go pick it up. Or if I'm out in a forest somewhere, if we're on the trails and I find a carcass or something and I would like to take it home and do some taxidermy stuff with it, then I will do that. I don't have a problem with it. If you have a problem with it, that's between yourself and you. I don't, so I'm just sharing with you what I do with certain things. And if, of course, that sounds weird, whatever, I don't really give a fuck what you think. No shit, it sounds weird. I mean, it's not mainstream. People don't just go around and be like, I pick up a roadkill carcass and bring it home and bleach and clean and peroxide it until it becomes usable and then turn it into art. I think it's a very beautiful creative process that I have within myself. I love and adore it, so it has nothing to do with you. But I am sharing with you things that I do. So I have gloves in my trunk. Black gloves, leather gloves. For what? Committing nefarious crimes against humanity. I'm just kidding. No. I'm just kidding. I don't. So I go into the forest. Oh, no, I'm kidding. And I, you know, with my family, and I'll pick up stuff. If I see something, I'll be like, oh my god, I gotta go back to the car. Or if I feel something, I'll be like, oh, I should bring my gloves and my trash bags with me in case I find something interesting, and then go home and start the whole, you know, the decomposition and cleansing process of the bones and sort them out and everything. And sometimes I just keep them in bags or piles until I have that other creative aspect of me comes in. You know, there's first the collecting that happens, the gathering of tools and resources, and then sometimes months later, then I'll finally be like, ah, I want to make a little chandelier thing out of these bones, you know, or I want to make an art piece with these. I feel it, you know what I'm saying? So for me, there's a whole, it's very long, the process, my creative process. It starts with gathering, and I don't understand why I'm gathering. It starts with the collection of things, and then a couple weeks pass, I'll forget about it. I gather some more things, I subconsciously put them in areas, and then all of a sudden I'll wake up one day and I'm like, you know what, I need to do something. Oh, I have this, that's right, okay, cool. And then I go get it out of my storage, and I'm like, okay, now that I have this whole collection of bones, let's see if we can make like bracelets, necklaces, rings. What can we make out of this? To me, it's a beautiful creative process, but it takes time, and I don't really do it for anybody but myself. I don't sell it. I tried to at one point, but I just didn't feel connected with the value I have for these things is priceless. So I did not feel connected to the almighty dollar. I didn't feel right selling art. I feel good exchanging art. I feel great doing that. It's a beautiful, intimate thing. Speaking of art, I have a picture of a bat that my friend bought for me because she knows how much I love them. And she's my best friend. And she knows that I have such an intimate connection with bats. They are so beautiful and they're so magnificent. And side note, very, very hardcore side note for all of you witches out there, and this is probably going to turn a lot of people off. So, sorry. In certain avenues of witchcraft, unfortunately, people do use bat hearts as a amulet. Actual bat hearts. They do use it as an amulet for protection against mostly gang violence or gunshot wounds, or things that are fast, because bats can dodge bullets. They're fast, So if you are somebody that has a difficult, let's just say this, astrologically, you have a difficult Mars placement, it's a little dangerous. You're always getting in trouble. Maybe you are in a gang. Maybe you do have ties to things that go bump in the night. Maybe you're one of the things that go bump in the night. Maybe you go bump in the night. I don't know you. It's none of my business. But if you go to a botanica, sometimes, especially the ones in the south side of San Antonio, there are botanicas that you can visit, and they have actual hearts from bats within jars, within things, and you can keep them and use them as amulets of protection. So people generally will use bat hearts as protection, right? They do. But you could also find a dead bat and just go bury it by your house, by the front of your house, and use that. Just use the whole thing for protection purposes. In a witchcraft way. I'm not saying it actually does anything. And this could all be hullabaloo. It could be fictional. It could not even work at all. I'm not saying it does or it doesn't. I don't fucking know anything. Now do I? I'm nobody. I don't really even exist, right? So what I am saying is that in certain avenues, in certain places, at certain times, people do things in general. Sometimes they're at intersections. Sometimes they are at their house. But whenever you are something that goes bump in the night, every once in a while it's good to have a little bit of protection on your side. So if you are in nefarious things, sometimes people go to strange lengths. People go to strange lengths to protect themselves from the other things that go bump in the night. Bats are fast, and then within certain avenues of witchcraft, people use bat hearts as a form of protection because they are so fast. They use it against violence, extremely fast violence. So accidents, car wrecks, gun violence, things of that nature is one thing that people will use bat hearts for. So, but anyways, let's go back to the fact that I have leather gloves in my trunk. So, like I said before, I pick up some roadkill sometimes. I pick up things in the forest. I'm like, thank you, universe, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll take them home and give them new life. That's what I do. Practice resurrection on your own, at your own discretion. Practice resurrection at your own discretion. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go make a fucking club remix of that. I'm gonna go take that soundbite and make it. Practice resurrection at your own discretion. I like that. Maybe I will. So anyways, yes, practice resurrection at your own discretion. So what does that mean? Well, some things have rabies. Some things have icky, nasty, dirty things on them. Some things will bite you. Some things have teeth, and they know how to use them. So it's not always good for people to go picking up things. You could get sick from picking up roadkill. You can get really sick. You can get salmonella. I mean, you can get bit by bats. Like people up and they get bit by bats, they get rabies, and they have to go get shots. A whole process that happens. But interestingly enough, if I do find a bat on the ground, I understand that they have to ascend in order to go. So it's gonna take them a while. They don't have fucking, they're not, like we are. They don't just walk around like do. They're not Dracula. They don't do that. So they have to like crawl on their stomachs to the wall and then crawl up the fucking wall, and then from there they have to feel it and then go. They have to glide, catch air, and go. It's a whole process for the ascension process. If you fall off the cave wall, you could either die or you ascend, and it depends. Are you going to have to start again? Are you going to fall into the Saturnian times of decomposition within the guano and bugs that eat you? Or can you survive long enough? Can you crawl on your belly through the cave to the wall, up the wall high enough? Because it's quicksand. You have to keep going. You'll sink in, and those things that are under the sand will eat you. So you have to go to the wall, crawl up the wall, crawl up the wall, catch the air, go back to your family. And next time, don't fucking fuck around and don't do that thing ever again, because you already know what's at the bottom. You got out once. It's not a good thing to keep going back to that primal material. Now I said. So it's difficult. It's scary. Psychologically, there's a lot that can be learned from bats. Correct? Perhaps. Maybe. I found a lot of interesting stuff from bats, so I like them. I have no problem with them. In fact, I love them so much that I tattooed some on myself. I have multiple tattoos of bats that I've given myself. I love them. They are so cute. And when I do find a bat on the ground, I go get my leather gloves out of my trunk, or at my house. We have leather gloves all over the place for, like, you know, working in the garden or whatever. Something that's got a little thickness to it, because those little fuckers, they got teeth, okay? And if the off chance they have rabies, then they have rabies. Oops, you know, like, oh, fuck, that sucks. But even if it does have rabies, it doesn't matter. If I find a bat on the ground, I generally, if it doesn't have, like, the white nose stuff or whatever, partying hard? No, I'm kidding. There's, like, a type of fungus that grows on bats' noses. Anyways, I put them on the wall high enough, somewhere safe enough for them to then come back to themselves and then go. That's what I do. That's my job. I see a bat on the ground, I go get my gloves. I protect myself, number one. I don the leather gloves, the black leather gloves. I put them on, I grab the bat, I stick it up high enough for the wall. It has to be at least 4 feet. Minimum 4 feet, okay? I was at a, ironically, when we were in San Antonio, my husband had slit his finger open to the bone, and he had to go get stitches at the ER. So that took some time, and the lady was extremely rude, and she was just like, stop being a fucking baby. She was being really mean to him, and he was like, ow, you know, because she had given him stitches without correctly numbing him first. So he was just feeling everything. She was just like, shut up. And halfway through giving him stitches, she was like, oh, I'm busy, I have to go do something else. So she left him open with his stitches open, halfway open, and he was just like, not numbed up correctly, no pain meds, and he was just like, what? But I was in the car, and it was at that beautiful time. I don't know why everything happens to me at dusk. At the twilight of dusk, I always say that. I've noticed that. So anyways, it's like my special time is dusk, and there was, I noticed some commotion because I was in the car waiting for him to get out. I was just like, okay, this is a lot. It's kind of gross in there. And in my head, my OCD started acting up. I was like, the chance I'm going to get sick from being in the ER is a lot higher than being outside of the ER. But within the ER, generally at a hospital, that's where sick people go. So there are things that creep and crawl within the white halls and the fluorescent lights that I just cannot see and I do not want to ingest. So I'm going to go wait in the car. Right? At least I know it's got my own kind of funk in here. So yeah, it's my little safety area. So I was in the car listening to music, waiting for my husband, and unfortunately the lady had left his stitches halfway done to go fucking do God knows what. It was never clear. But she told him to wait and not to be a baby, and she would be right back. The doctor. So where did they find her? Fuck if I know. Probably straight out of the war zone. She was just like some hardened fucking doctor who had seen some shit. She was just like, shut the fuck up. Listen, dude, I had to sew someone's foot back on. You think I give a fuck? She was so hardcore. I met her whenever I was like, damn, it's kind of taking long. So I went in and he was like, you don't know what I've been through. And I was like, what are you talking about? What's going on? Why is this taking so long? It's just some stitches, you know? And the lady was sitting there like, just mad and angry, and he told me, and I was like, ooh, you're lucky I wasn't in here, because I would have lost my shit. Anyways, so there was a commotion by an exit. Underneath some, you know, the lights had turned on, and it was all, you know, the sun had dropped below the horizon, but it was still light outside, you know, the 30 minutes after sunset. It was still kind of bright. It was before everything turns gray. You know, there's a point with sunrise and sunset, everything goes gray. That's when I'm blind. I can't see at those times, so I can't drive at those times. I have to either pull over on the side of the road when everything hits that gray shift, you know, the color shift. It's like that. God damn, dude, I can't drive. I'm fucking blind then. So I'll stop. I'll purposefully stop because I'm like, man, I know everything's about to turn gray real quick for like an instant, or it's just a weird thing that happens. I've noticed within myself personally, at sunrise and sunset, there's certain times I can't drive. So I don't, because it's dangerous and I know better. I know myself. So anyways, I heard a commotion near an exit. The lights were on, but it was still kind of bright outside, still on the cusp of the sun below the horizon, and there was light. Evening light, let's call it that. And I hear ladies, oh my God, get it out of here. You know, and I saw the exit door open on the side of the ER that we went to, and a broom, you know, kind of doing that. I was like, what the fuck is happening over there? And I was kind of in that weird twilight time, and I was like, and I see against the walls were made out of this kind of a cream type of brick, limestone-esque. There's a lot of limestone in San Antonio, and so the warm light, the limestone, and then these nurses with their fucking broom, and then I see this little black thing on the ground, and they kicked it out, and they went inside, and then I saw it jumping on the ground, just jumping, and I was like, oh no, because I knew it takes 4 feet for a bat to catch and go, you know, at least maybe 3 feet. They have to climb, they have to ascend to a certain extent to go. These babies, they have to do, they're mammals too, and they're cute when they're pregnant. They have little fat bellies, and they go and eat the nectar off the cactus, and these little sweet brown fruit bats, they eat the bugs, and they eat the delectable cactus flower nectar, and they're so beautiful, and I love them, and I'll always love them. In fact, not just did my friend get me a bat picture, she also got me a bat ring, a silver bat ring, because she knows how much I love bats. And so she's like my best friend, and she's like super cool, and she's always getting me bat stuff, because like silver bat stuff and art that has bats on it. And I love her so much for that. I really appreciate her for that, because it not only does it connect me to myself so deeply, I love bats, but also, and like I said, I collect ceramic, or not ceramic, they're onyx, like they're not ceramic, but they're crystals, bats that are made out of onyx, and they're crystals. Or sometimes I collect little soapstone, like they call them fetishes, you know what I'm talking about, like talismans, like amulets, bat amulets. I collect those too. I have a tiger's eye one, and one made out of quartz crystal, and a whole bunch of onyx ones with little yellow eyes I keep around the house. Any place in my house will have a bat stone, but they're tiny, they're hidden in little areas. I do that with my crystals and my stones. I hide them all over the place from myself, and sometimes I'll find them and I'll go, eek! You know, I get excited. I forgot I hid this over here. I tend to do that a lot, hide things from myself. And then I have to go on this journey to discover, where did I hide things from myself, right? But yeah, anyway, so this poor baby bat outside the ER was jumping. The ladies had beat the shit out of it. The nurses had kicked motherfucker out of the ER. Basically, should have sent his ass back to the ER, because they beat his ass with the broom, left him outside, and was like, now stay out, you know? And I was like, oh, baby, ah, you know? So I get out of the car, and I get my black leather gloves on. I'm like, you know, I grab the bat up off the wall, and he's like, you know, he's like, you know, and I'm like, and so I put him on the wall, and I hold him there for a minute until he kind of figures out, like, oh, it's itchy. The lime wall, the limestone, I could grasp with my tiny little itty bitty claws that are like millimeters big. And so he you know, he starts grasping, and then he starts feeling himself out again and getting it. And so I ease up off of, you know, I held him there for a second, and then I started easing up off of him until I knew he wasn't gonna fall, until I knew the baby was safe on the wall, and then I let nature do its thing, okay? And then he flew, and then he went. And then I checked on my husband. I was like, wow, I just saved this bat's life. Took my gloves off. I was like, fuck, I gotta go wash them in case of whatever, because I do have OCD, so I'm very meticulous about cleaning certain things. So even though I am adventurous, I'm also meticulous, and I understand the dangers, and so it's very clear to me I have to weigh things very quick to see how I'm going to act. And sometimes I get paralyzed with inaction from the weighing process. I don't know what they call that, balancing the checkbook of a situation. I get very nervous very quick. So but then, you know, there's also something within me that's a savior of these little animals. I always wanted to kind of have my own little rehab thing or whatever, and I have a homestead now, and we found a bat on the ground by my husband's car. You could hear them sometimes. They make a specific sound. And I grabbed him and we put him on the wall, and I did the same thing. I took a bat out of my mom's house. She had popcorn ceiling, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, maybe that's a roach. I said, no, that's too big to be a roach. I have never seen a roach that big. I was like, is that a mouse on the ceiling? And it got closer. I said, oh, it's a bat. And she was like, what? And I was like, oh, you got a bat in your house? And she was like, what the fuck? You know, freaking out. And I was like, no, I got this. So I found, she had one of those traveler cups, you know, like the plastic ones that are kind of big, like 40-ounce cups with the lid on it. And so I put a piece of paper and I scooped him off of the how do you say, the popcorn ceiling, because my mom left her doors open. We live in the South and her AC wasn't that good, so she had like this dugout type of house that the front door and the back door would be open, and it would blow breeze through the house. The way her house sat, the breeze would go through there and cool it off, and the back door would be open, so bats sometimes she'd get things in the house. So she had cats come through the house, and she was familiar with them, and every once in a while this dog from down the street would come to the house, and she'd be like, Chica, what the fuck are you doing here? And he would just be like, you got any snacks, bitch? And so she'd feed the random animals in the neighborhood. But when the bat came to her house, it was funny because she kept her doors open, and I guess it flew in. Who knows when it flew in? Who knows how long it had lived in her house? But, you know, so I grabbed the cup and I was like, do you want this cup anymore? Because honestly, I could bleach it, but are you going to feel comfortable drinking out of it after I stick a bat in it? She was like, fuck no. Fuck that cup. You can have it. Get that fucking thing out of my house. And of course, you know, I grew up watching Steve Irwin. He was like my idol. And so I was like, of course, no problem. I have so much empathy for animals. And so I like got him and I put him in the little cup. I brought him home. So anyways, I brought the bat home in the cup, and at night I put my gloves on, grabbed the bat, kind of squished him up against the wall, and I waited for him. I put him underneath our, how do you say, we have a lamplight outside. And we had a brick house at the time. It was like a red brick. And so it was porous enough for him to stick his tiny little claws into. And so I smush him up against the wall delicately. You don't squash them. You hug them against the wall until they kind of start stretching their wings out and feeling. And they start realizing there's grit and they could catch it. And he laid there for a while. He stayed there for a while. Now, every once in a while I would poke his butt to see if he was okay. I was like, are you thirsty? Do I need to go get some water on my glove and dip it into your mouth? What's happening here? I was concerned and confused. Now, do I say you should go do this? No. Did I do it? Yes. Should you copy me? Fuck no, you shouldn't. I think that you should use your discernment and your better judgment in order to figure out what you want to do with your life. Me personally, I'm Captain Save a Hoe, and so I saved a hoe. Who was the hoe? The bat. Did I love the hoe? Yes, I love the hoe. I love that hoe forever. I love bats. So I didn't give a fuck. I was like, whatever. The whole gothic aesthetic of me is totally not even connected to bats. My obsession with bats is something completely separate and completely, it's dark, it's deep, it's foreign, it's in the back recesses of my mind. Observing them, saving them, being around them, having houses for them, helping them out, getting them out of people's houses, making sure that they're okay and fine. It was important to me, and it still is. Every time I see a bat, I'm just like, you know, and me and my kids, we would go on evening walks at sunset when we lived at the apartments where the bats would dive into the pool. And there were so many in San Antonio, so many bats, that we would count them. We could see, okay, who can count the most bats, you know, would win. We'd make a little game while we were walking at night in the sunset light, and we would count bats and see how many would fly across the, you know, from the horizon over us. And it was so cool to see them. You know, where were they going? What were they doing? They were traveling. Where were they going to? You know what I'm saying? And like, also, like I said before, there is a whole underworld aspect of bats where people will use them, their body parts, in certain avenues of witchcraft for certain reasons. Now, is it good? No. Should you ever harm an animal on purpose? No. But if you happen upon a dead bat and you're into witchcraft, use your discernment. use your own guiding light to figure out what you should do. Should you leave it, bury it, bring it home, leave it there, don't touch it, not think about it? Who knows? It's none of my fucking business what you do with your life. I don't really care. But what I did was we had a dead bat on our roof, okay? It had, I guess, something had happened and it ended up dying. And I saw something on the roof and I was like, hey honey, can you climb up there? Because my husband can sure as fuck skitter onto a roof really quick. So I said, can you, kind sir, get on top of the roof and figure out what the fuck that is up there? What is that up there? Because it was around the area where the bats, when they lived at our house in our attic, they'll naturally go. They'll leave during the winter months. They will leave, okay? So you can call pest control, spend $4,000. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. But I knew that they would leave. And they weren't technically in the attic. They were between the roof and there was like an inch of space. And these bats were so tiny they could get into an inch of space like rats. They could sneak in there and live in there and cuddle together, whatever. So my husband gets up there and it was a bat that had died. Somehow he had died and he was just on the roof. And the sun had kind of fried the chicken, so to speak. And so it was a fried bat on my roof. And so I said, well, that's disrespectful. Bring it down. Bring it down. And I had already known about witchcraft and botanicas and all the things that go bump in the night. So I was just like, well, you know what we could do? We could bury it. We could bury the bat near in a certain area of our house and then use it as an amulet of protection. Why not? Why the fuck not? Who cares? And are you gonna alert the press? No, nobody gives a fuck. Do you think somebody's gonna come to my house and be like, I know what's underneath this grass? No, nobody cares. If somebody finds it years later, who gives a fuck? So anyways, I buried the bat. And I knew that it's very protective to have a bat buried on your, you know, or bat parts on you, around you, whatever, via the witchcraft, you know, via certain nocturnal avenues. Let's call it that. Let's call it that. There are secrets. There are things. There are avenues that are not always taken. And should you take them? I don't know. It's between you and yourself. Don't listen to me, you know? I'm just sitting here yapping. While I get ready, I have to go actually right now. Right now it's gray, so I know I have about 10 minutes and then I have to go. But I will close this off pretty soon, like right now. So anyways, bats are fascinating. They're really cool. Like I said, they don't just fly off the ground. They actually have to ascend a little bit. Their guano is really important for people who do gardening. The excrement from these mammals actually makes a fantastic material to mix into your garden beds and then grow fantastic crops. Big bell peppers, fantastic peppers of all kinds, nightshades, tomatoes. It's really good stuff. And if you go to like an organic gardening area, you'll find some places have a lot of guano, a lot of bat shit, because it's so good. But it is, the process of collecting guano is dangerous, and you have to really suit up like hazmat suit style to go into these caves, into these ancient places where these nocturnal mammals live, and gather their divine excrement and then use it and mix it into the earth's womb, and plant seeds and watch them grow and flourish, and then we eat it. So how ironic is it that these creatures that devour bugs and nectar from the flowers that bloom at night, the night blooming flowers off the cactus, that they go into these caves and poop and pee and do their business, have babies fall into their own mess, get broken down by the creatures and creepy crawlers that live within the guano and the broken down material, the very Saturn-esque material within the dark cave. You know, it's mixed with bat DNA and also bats that couldn't make it, that couldn't crawl out of those deep dark swamps of excrement, and so they were devoured by their own shit, you know, and the bugs that lived in the shit. It's very fascinating. I suggest that you go watch a whole documentary on how they get guano out of caves. It's cool. It's really neat. It's sad too, because like sometimes the babies will fall off their mothers and into the darkness and get devoured, you know. It's very sad. And they're mammals, so there is some type of connection within their brain that they know. They know it happens. When loss happens to mammals, it creates a deviation within the neurological pathways. It doesn't matter if it's a dog or a cat or what. There's a type of depression that sinks in. So it's sad. I felt a deep amount of empathy whenever I saw like a baby fall off the mother into the dark parts of the cave floors that were filled with, I don't know, like broken down movement. It was wild. Like matter, just pure matter. So yeah, should you go watch a documentary on bats? Sure, why not? Do I love bats? Yes. Do I think they're fascinating? Yes. Do I dress like this? Yes. Do I think I'm a bat? No. I love bats. I have bats tattooed all over me. I give myself tattoos of bats. I've always loved bats. They're really cool. They're great. They're fantastic for the environment. I adore them so much. My friend always buys me bat stuff, and I'm like, you know, every time I see her, she's like, I got you a painting. My friend painted a painting of a bat, and I thought of you, and I had to get it for you. And here's, oh my God, it's your birthday. Here's a ring of a silver bat. And they're just so cool. They're so cool, and they're so beautiful, and there's so much we can learn from observing animals. There is a shamanic practice within observation of animals, their patterns, their habits, that changes us from within. It does. You cannot just observe something and not be changed in some way, and it not be changed in some way. Generally in science avenues, it's a thing, you know, observing, observer, blah, 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 whatever. So on that note, I think I'm gonna go. I have to go. Now that Twilight is passing, I need to go to H-E-B and pick up my curbside. And I'll see you guys later. Okay, goodbye.